Welcome to Mick and Roman Radio Empire. Be the best you that you can be.
Welcome to episode 6. I just released episode 5 yesterday, and I felt the need to go ahead and record and put out episode 6 today. And I think that that's really important because the two go hand in hand so very well. Episode 5 was all about understanding the mind, all about really understanding what is going on between our ears. You know, all those little working pieces, how it all fits together with our mental health, how all this how the pieces work together when it comes to law of attraction and things like that. And that's a really important part of what I talk about. So today we are talking about, where do I start? How do I even begin to take control of my mind and manifest the things that I want in my life? Well, that's what this episode is for. Roll up your sleeves and let's get to work. Number 1, and I cannot stress this enough, and most of you who've been with my channel for any length of time have heard me talk about this: self-talk. It is hugely important to manifesting anything, to manifesting change, whether it's in your life or in your mind. You cannot manifest positivity in your life while you are being negative in your self-talk. So here's kind of what I mean by that. If you're one of those people that look around at life and talk about how shitty everything is, how can you expect any kind of positivity back from that when you're putting out negativity into the world? And I'll put it in a really simple context, and this comes directly from Bob Proctor. Our thoughts exist on a frequency, right? Since everything is energy, thoughts are on a frequency. And where your goal is, what you want to attain, exists on a separate frequency. And the only way you can get there to that separate frequency where your goal is at is to raise the frequency that you vibrate at. And you can only do that through changing your thoughts and your emotions. And I know that sounds like a big task, to just change all your thoughts. And that is kind of a large undertaking. But it's not impossible. And I'm here to tell you how you can do this for yourself. And it's not a huge thing to tackle. One little thing at a time. That is my big message in Law of Attraction, is one thing at a time. One little thing at a time, and everything is possible. Story time. What I did when I first started on the road to Law of Attraction is I made some mistakes. I decided I was going to do it all at once, that I was just going to jump in head first, and that was a big mistake. And here's why. I very quickly burned out and got overloaded. And I want to help you avoid doing that as well. So my number 1 piece of advice is always do one thing at a time. Change one little thing at a time, and eventually that will build up to making lifelong habits that are going to create such positivity in your life. So now when I do anything with Law of Attraction, I change one little thing at a time. My first thing that I noticed is the self-talk, how I would speak to myself. And these aren't things that I would say to a friend of mine. These are things that I wouldn't even really say to an enemy. When you stop and think about it, we have to be our own cheerleader. As dumb as that sounds, we really have to. Who else is going to do it for us? Some of us are lucky enough to have friends who are willing to do that. But what about those of us that really don't? So we have to be our number one fan. And that's a very difficult thing to do if you're just going from where you're at right now to becoming your number one fan. That seems like an impossible task. But it really isn't. And I can help you get there. So let's take a step back and really look at this. Let me give you an example. Let's say you're carrying something to another room, to another part of the house, and you drop it. I mean, this shit happens to everybody, right? But it's about what's going on in your head. And you may even say it out loud. God, I'm so stupid. I'm so clumsy. The fuck is wrong with me? That right there is part of the problem. If you had a friend over to your house and they dropped something and they did that exact same thing that you just did, would you say that to them? Hell no, you wouldn't. No. That's the problem. We say things to ourselves that we would never dream of saying to a person that we cared about. So that right there, if you take just that one little piece, I'm not going to talk bad to myself anymore when I make a mistake. You have to catch it and interrupt it. One of my favorite things to do now is if I do something clumsy, I will tell myself something like, I am the epitome of grace. God, I'm such a genius. Because here's the great part. When you say something to yourself, it doesn't matter if there's sarcasm in there or if it's a joke, your brain really can't tell the difference. So even if you're joking and you're making these self-deprecating jokes, your brain can't tell the difference and it believes what you're saying. There was a scientific study done that shows we are more likely to believe something that we say than if somebody else were to say it. And your brain can't tell the difference between a joke or sarcasm or being serious. So when I say, I am such a genius, I might be joking, I might be using sarcasm, but my brain, my mind, it doesn't know the difference. So it's essentially me giving myself an affirmation without standing in front of a mirror, just saying positive things to myself. Which feels very fake to some people. It feels forced. Now, when I first started on this road of law of attraction and working on my mental health and everything, when I first started and I did affirmations, it felt fake. It felt forced. It was not natural. That's how it felt to me. But the more I did it, it began to feel natural. It flowed from me naturally. It wasn't forced anymore. And my mind didn't fight back after a while and tell me how untrue all the things that I was saying was. It actually had the reverse effect, to where when I would tell myself I am happy, I would experience a wave of euphoria. But I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here. This whole thing is about positive self-talk, and I will talk more about affirmations because that does relate to this. But for right now, I really want to focus on the meat and potatoes part of this, which is we have to stop talking so badly to ourselves. And here's the messed up part. Because of the trauma that we have, that is in our subconscious programming. Okay, so we learned about that in the last episode. All about the subconscious programming. Here's where you can do something about it. Here is where you can change it. And it comes from one little thing at a time. So when you catch yourself talking badly to yourself or about yourself, even if it's a joke. Interrupt it right there and change it around. Affirmations is a part that is important to do in conjunction with this. Now, every day I used to have one specific set of phrases that I would use for my daily affirmations. And it would go a little something like this. I am happy. I am healthy. I am successful. I am wealthy. That used to be my daily affirmations, and I used it like a mantra, and I would say it out loud. When I was commuting to work, I would say it over and over out loud until I would start to feel the emotions bubbling up in me. I've actually had people tell me, that sounds a little, I don't know, frou-frou, like new agey. And I don't know, like I felt that way at first too. And your mind tells you that this ain't true. It'll buck you at first. Your mind will be like, nah, you're full of shit. Right? But after a while of you consistently telling yourself the same thing over and over, it's only a matter of time. And you're going to believe it. And it's going to start to make huge changes in the way you think and how you feel towards yourself and the world around you. Because here's the truth of the matter. Perception is reality. Stop and think about that for a minute. Perception is reality. So it's not about what happens. It's about how we see what happens. It's about what we say to ourselves, the judgments that we make that put a positive or a negative spin on something. When you really stop and consider that, and you really look at it and think about it, it makes a ton of sense. Perception is reality. This means we have a fighting chance. Because if it's not about what happens to us, and it's about our reactions to it, this is something we can control. And it's something we lose sight of every day. For most of us, life happens to us. But for the ones who are really understanding of the human mind and law of attraction, life happens for us. Think about that. Just take a moment and try to wrap your head around it. It's almost the same as the argument that there are two types of people in the world. Those who watch things happen and those who make things happen. That's essentially what I'm talking about here. So the question then becomes, what is your role in your life? Are you going to sit and watch things happen to you? To your life? Or are you going to take charge, take control of your life, your destiny, and make things happen? That's what it's about for me. I mean, I'm not perfect. I'm not saying I got this all worked out, right? I'm giving you my experiences, right? Based on what I've done, what I've seen, the changes I've been able to make in myself. And I want to help other people do that. So this is how I did it. Number one is your self-talk. And I'm going to hammer that point home again and again and again. So on other episodes, you're going to hear me talk about that self-talk. Because it's something that really needs to be driven home. It's a huge deal. And you cannot manifest anything until we tackle that problem. Because that is number one. That is our worst enemy right there. That is where doubt comes from. That is where fear comes from. That is where we lose the ability to do anything about anything in our lives. We lose it all. Why? Because we get in our own way. We sit back and take a spectator's seat rather than rolling up our sleeves and getting to work. Because it's messy and it's tough. But you know what? The rewards are more than worth it. Even from the little bit that I've been able to do for myself, the rewards are worth it. I mean, even being able to look at yourself in the mirror and not hate what's there, that's a huge step. At least for me personally, that was a huge step. I needed to be able to do that. And I have done it. And I'm giving you the steps that I took to achieve that. So number 1, self-talk is hugely important. We need to take the negative stuff out of our self-talk and be our own number 1 fan. Number 2, another little piece that people find a little frou-frou and new agey, meditate. Consistently. I would suggest daily. But that's a tall order for some people just to start with. So at least a few times a week, dip your toes in the water. It's hugely important. And there are some people who say, well, I don't really know how to meditate. There's a really good source for that on YouTube. Just look up guided meditations for whatever your goal is. I found some really good ones on manifesting wealth. And I used those for a while. Man, what a difference that makes. It's hard for us to set aside time sometimes to meditate, to just sit and think, to be in our thoughts. But I'll tell you what, it clears out some of the cobwebs that are in there. We can clear away some of our bullshit in our mind by drawing our own attention to it through meditation. Sounds too easy, doesn't it? It's too good to be true. But it is true. And if you do it consistently, you can rewrite that programming that's in your subconscious mind. So meditation is a huge deal. I have listened to so many interviews with really successful people, millionaires and billionaires. People like Grant Cardone. If you don't know who he is, I would highly suggest you look him up. He is a self-made billionaire with a B. And he's not trampling on people to get there. He doesn't have employees that he underpays. He doesn't screw anybody over. He's a real estate mogul. You know? Almost every interview I've ever heard from a millionaire or a billionaire or people who are insanely successful, they say the key to their success is daily meditation. Matter of fact, a lot of this information that I'm giving you comes straight from the mouths of people like Lewis Howes, Bob Proctor, Rhonda Byrne, gurus of law of attraction, who have all paved the way for what I'm talking to you about now. I decided to put the spin on it for mental health and mental health problems, issues, if you will. But that's only because I noticed a lack of conversation in this area, in this arena. And it needs to be there. People need to understand that there are people who are struggling with mental health issues and that you too can have all the things that you want in life. You absolutely can. It's not going to be easy, but we can do it together. So number 2, big one, meditate. Number 3, daily routine. And this is more from a place of morning routine. So, I'm a creature of habit. I think mostly we all are. What you do repetitively ends up becoming a habit. And I had no morning routine. I would just kind of get up and go with the flow. I'd get up, go to the bathroom, smoke a cigarette, have some coffee, and then just fuck around on my phone or the computer or whatever. I didn't have any routine. It wasn't organized, streamlined in any way or fashion. And so to me, this is a decent sized piece of this for me personally, was I have to have some type of morning routine. And I would put things in there. Like when I started building a morning routine, I would put things in there like, don't look at your phone for an hour. Or drink a glass of water when I first get up. And I would do things like that. And I kind of tested the waters here and there. I was like, I want to know what's going to work for me. So I have to experiment with different things. And you can set up your morning routine however you want to. And I'm calling it a morning routine, but it doesn't have to be the morning. If you're a third shift worker and you wake up in the afternoon, first stuff you do when you get up is what I call my morning routine. I mean, it could be any number of things. My number one thing I do before I get out, or right after I get out of bed, is I make the bed. And that one little piece, that one little thing, makes a pretty big difference in my life. I definitely realize when I don't do it now, and it kind of screws with me. Now I've almost got OCD with my bed. Now it has to be made, like all the time that I'm not in it. And that all started from a video I watched. And I think the guy was an astronaut or something. And he had said, make your bed when you first get out of it every single day until it becomes habit. Because then, even if you don't feel good about anything that day, you can look back and say, at least I got one thing done. And it gives you momentum sometimes. You do that one thing, next thing you know, you might be cleaning the kitchen or something. But it makes sense to me because that's a really big thing for me, is getting that first thing done. And now I don't even think about it. I get out of bed, I make it, and then I go to the bathroom, start the coffee, go have a cigarette because I am a smoker and I am trying to quit. That's a vice I need to give up. But these are things that start my day. And sometimes I won't look at my phone for an hour. Or I won't open my work emails. I won't try to add stress to my life quite so early. So it's all about knowing what's going to be stressful for you when you first get up and what's not. Like when the kids are in school, I get up, I kind of get around and get ready before I get them up. And then once they're awake, it's a little hectic and chaotic before they get on the bus. So that part of it might add a little bit of stress, but I try to eliminate what I can before I get them up. I don't want to be stressed out about, I got an email from this person who I'm supposed to be doing this audiobook for, and now they're wanting to change some things. I don't want to deal with that first thing in the morning. Let me get my bearings first, you know? If I take that on before I even get my kids up, I'm just going to stress about it more. So I put it off a little bit. And my work hours right now are 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. And that's only because the kids get on the bus about 5 to 8. Then I come in my room, my studio. It's both, really. And then I'll open up my emails and I'll look at, YouTube views and how many subscribers do I have now, and how many people have found me on Anchor? How many listens do I have on these different platforms? How's my website doing? What are the analytics at? Then I can start kind of worrying about that kind of stuff. Have I heard anything back on the auditions that I've put out? All that kind of stuff, that can wait until after the kids get on the bus. So I don't have a one-size-fits-all morning routine schedule for everybody. This is the kind of thing you have to look at your morning and your life and figure out, what can I do to minimize stress? What can I do to streamline and organize my day so that I get a better start on things? So that's really important. And the next thing I'm going to add, like I said, one little thing at a time. The next thing I'm going to add to my morning routine is meditation. I need to set aside at least 15 to 20 minutes for meditation every day. Because now that I know the benefits of it, it's worth it to me to do it daily. And this kind of stuff that I'm talking about only works if it's done consistently, daily. And sometimes you miss a day, and that's not that big a deal. And that goes with all of this stuff that I'm talking about. If you miss a day, it's not a huge deal. If you miss 2 days, okay, now it's time to start getting back on it. But you can't live in the moments when you're missing days. Because then it turns to, instead of missing days, now it turns to just, you're not doing anything anymore. And I've fallen off of doing law of attraction stuff, so I know exactly what that feels like. And then it's really hard to get back on it. But if you start and you're consistent, soon it becomes second nature, habitual. You don't really have to think about it much anymore. So number 3 is getting your morning routine down. Which brings us to number 4. Another big one. Nail your goals down. Know exactly what you want. And that sounds silly to even say, but some people, we go through life sometimes and we don't know exactly where it's going. So this is not a no-brainer. This is something that you really have to think about and put thought into. What do you want to get out of listening to this podcast? What do you want to get out of the law of attraction? What do you want to manifest? And the more specific, the better. And another note here, do not put negatives in there. I want to stop doing this, or I want to not feel like this anymore. It has to be positives, because your mind doesn't really work with negatives very well when it comes to goal setting. So instead of saying, I want to stop feeling like shit every day, it would be more like, I want to feel more positive. I want to have more good days. And if it's money, you don't say, I want to stop being poor. Do you? No. You say, I want wealth. And hey, let's put a number on it while we're at it. The more specific, the better. Within 5 years, I want to have a net worth of $10 million. And of course, there's going to be naysayers that are going to be like, yeah, it's too big. What are you doing? You're never going to make that. You're never going to get there. You can't listen to people who say stuff like that to you, right? Because God only knows the kind of stuff they're saying to themselves, right? Cannot let anybody deter you from your goal. There's a lot of negativity in this world already. We're dealing with enough negativity in our heads that we don't have to deal with it from people who are close to us as well. So if they're like, well, you're never going to be able to get there. That goal is too crazy. That's too high. Sky's the limit, man. We're only bound by our imagination. We're only bound by our willpower. And if we want to get there, there ain't no reason we can't get there. And what do these people think? That they're really helping us by saying, oh no, that's stupid, you can't do that? Man, jump on board or get the hell out of my way. That's my opinion. And I will tell people that. I have no issue with it. Because my life is going where I say it's going to go, and it's not going to be limited by somebody else's limited imagination. So shoot for the moon. If that's what you want, put a number on it. A big number. And you can get there. But it takes work. So when I'm talking about nailing down goals, it isn't just, I'm going to write this on a piece of paper one time and then never look at it again. It is about knowing where you want to end up and figuring out a way to get there. Think about this like creating a map. Right now, we're just wandering around aimlessly without a map. The map is going to show us how to get where we want. But the first thing you have to do is decide, where am I going? What's the destination here? Once you locate a destination and you pinpoint that sucker on your map, then you can start to plot a course. So this isn't all, it's not all about, if I think it, I can make it happen. That is definitely a part of it. What you think, you can manifest into your life. You can make that happen. But it's not solely just thinking. Once you get a goal in mind, you have to start making plans for how you're going to attain that goal. The steps that you need to take. And then once you pick a destination and you figure out your quickest way there, you have to start putting in the work. So when I started this whole podcasting thing and started doing audiobook narration and voiceover work and all that, that didn't just happen. I had goals in mind. I knew where I wanted to go, but I had to take little baby steps to get there. This is the same exact thing. Only now, instead of having this goal for, like, say, the podcasting, we're going to set the goal wherever you want. You could want to be a millionaire, whatever, which is what most people use law of attraction for. Or you could make a very clear goal about what you want to get out of these mental health podcasts. Where do you want to be in 5 years? Or 10? Or even a week? 2 weeks? Where do you want to be? What do you want to get out of it? This is something that you need to be very clear with yourself about. And I can't really do a lot to help you about setting goals for yourself. This is a very honest conversation that needs to happen with yourself. Figure out your goal. Figure out the steps you need to take to get there. And then put in the work to get there. So that's number 4, is working on your goals. I just crossed over the 34-minute marker. This felt much longer before I recorded it. Like, with my notes and everything, it was like, this is probably going to take an hour. And I hit minute 34, and I've gotten through the first 4. And I think that's where I'm going to leave this episode. Because this gives everybody something to think about, something to work toward. And it's a damn good starting point. But I don't want to lose people when they hear me say daily affirmations or meditation or any of this stuff. If you make a judgment about something, then you've already decided if you're going to attempt it or not. And I tell people this when they say, well, meditation sounds a little frou-frou. Or, it sounds a little funny to sit and talk to yourself and only say good stuff. Yeah, that's true. But what do you have to lose? I'll tell you what you have to gain is a different outlook on your mental health. You can be somewhere different mentally. But by you saying, I'm not going to do this because it sounds stupid and it'll never work anyway, you've already made the choice to not even attempt it. So when people tell me, I tried some of this and it doesn't really work. No, you didn't. You didn't try it. Because you told me meditation was stupid and you weren't going to do it. You told me that you felt silly saying affirmations. You have nothing to lose by trying this. And a hell of a lot to gain. So I just want you to think about that. If anybody has any questions or comments, feel free to leave me a comment on any one of my YouTube videos. Or, hey, drop me an email at mick@dynamicvoiceover.com. And if you can't remember that, or can't spell it, try mickandromanradio@gmail.com. I check my emails every day. If you have any questions or comments, anything like that, I can address it on the show. And if at any point I start getting too many questions to answer personally, I will start doing them on the air. I will do an AMA episode. So don't be shy. Feel free to hit me up. Go ahead, send me an email. Drop me comments. Because this is all for you. Of course, I like helping people. So, I do get something out of it too. This is more for all of you than it is for me. Because this helps keep me sane. My ability to be there for you keeps me sane. For all of my listeners on YouTube, please give this video a like. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share this video with friends so that YouTube will suggest it to more people. If you found me on another platform, please let me know what it is. I would love to know where my listeners are hearing me at. I know that my stuff is on a lot of different platforms right now. And I would love to know where you heard me. Or if somebody told you about this podcast. Drop me a line. Let me know who told you. I want to be a very interactive channel, a very interactive podcast. So until I see all of you again, remember, you are worthy. You are loved. You matter. I love all of you. Have a great night.